A man is suing British Airways for sitting him next to an obese passenger. The passenger said, I sat with his knees wedged against the seat in front, and the rest of his body was overspilling into my seat by some inches. I was immediately aware that this was going to be problematic for me, and I could feel the weight of his pure bulk putting lateral pressure on my upper body. And he says he suffered long-term injuries after undergoing this for the whole 12-hour flight, which, I mean, a 12-hour flight in itself sounds miserable, but to do it when you don't have a lot of room, I can see, it's hard for me to believe you would have long-term injuries, but I can see how that would be extremely uncomfortable. Now, I just want to make a few points about this issue of obese people on airplanes. First of all, people can be very cruel about this. And it seems like a lot of people have no problem openly complaining about the obese on airplanes. They have no problem mocking and ridiculing. I've seen people on Twitter tweeting complaints about the large person sitting next to them on an airplane while that person is currently sitting next to them. It's very cruel, as I said. Obviously, someone who is that big and is sitting on an airplane seat, they're already self-conscious about it. They're aware of how big they are. They feel embarrassed. They feel nervous. I don't know how you could have anything but compassion and pity for someone in that situation. I was once sitting next to someone who, it was a larger person, and they had to ask for a seatbelt extender, which I didn't even know that was a thing. But the seatbelt wasn't large enough, so they had to ask the flight attendant for a seatbelt extender, and they were obviously embarrassed asking for it. But there was no way I was sitting in the middle, and there was no way for them to ask for it without me hearing. And I just felt really bad for this person. I can't imagine being angry at them. I could tell they were embarrassed and ashamed, and that's a sad thing. I felt bad for them. So I think this is something where people just need to be human. You just need to be a human being. Big people know they're big. They know how you feel about sitting next to them on an airplane. You don't need to go advertising it. You don't need to complain about it openly. Maybe have a little bit of human decency instead. On the other hand, and the reason why this story jumped out at me, because the article on the Daily Wire, the article about the airline lawsuit, has a quote from Peggy Howell, who is the spokeswoman for the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, NAFA. And she, of course, blamed the airlines and said it's their fault for not having larger seats, which she's not wrong about that, by the way. Airlines have been consistently shrinking their seats and their legroom so that now, unless you're underweight and undersized, you can't fit comfortably. I'm 6 feet tall, a little bit more than 6 feet tall. I can't fit in an airline seat anymore. But the existence of something called the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance is a sad statement as well, because it just shows how you have these two extremes in our culture. And on one extreme, you have cruel people who mock and ridicule and are very selfish. And on the other extreme, you have this idea that we should accept and celebrate everything about ourselves. We should celebrate even the flaws. Obesity is a flaw in the sense that it's unhealthy.